Hello GMAT folks, welcome back to a brand new episode from Eventide International on our GMAT Sentence Correction tutorial. In this video, we are going to cover two very important chapters of the GMAT Sentence Correction section. The first one is called Concision and the second one will be idioms. In our previous videos, we discussed how the GMAT can trick you in terms of meaning of sentence, placement of words and redundancy. Hope you have liked these videos. If you haven't watched the videos yet, you can do so by clicking on the link on the top. Let's start our first chapter, Concision. Now, what is Concision? Why do we need to use it on the GMAT? Are there necessary precautions that you need to take while applying this concept? And what are the fallacies? We will come to that. Before everything, I must give you this fair warning. This chapter, Concision, is a very subjective chapter on the GMAT test. To understand Concision, GMAT discourages test takers to use unnecessary words to express the same meaning of the sentence which can be delivered using fewer words. This is what is Concision all about. You must need an example to understand how Concision works. So let's not waste time, let's straight away go to an example. Before going to the example question, I would like to remind you that the best way to learn the GMAT course is through application of concepts. I know you don't have any concept regarding Concision as of now, but let's try a question. Let's find whether through your natural ability you will be able to solve a question or not. So here is your question. Look at the two statements below. The first statement states the Chinese products are superior to the native products in the way that these Chinese products are cheaper. And the second statement says the Chinese products are superior to the native products because they are cheaper. Now, the question is, which one of the sentences do you think is correct? Take your time, pause the video, come back with your correct answer. Are you done solving this question? Were you able to find the difference between statement 1 and statement 2? Let's do it together once more. Statement 1 uses the phrase in the way that, whereas statement 2 uses a simple word because. Now see, GMAT discourages test takers to use unnecessary words when the same meaning can be expressed using fewer words. In other words, both the statements are correct. However, the second statement delivers the same intended meaning using fewer words. Thus, over here, statement 2 is the correct option. This is how concision works. So the first rule that we are going to learn in this chapter is that concise sentences are preferred in the GMAT. Make this a rule for yourself and practice it to achieve greater heights. Since we are done understanding what concision actually is, let's talk about some fallacies. Where should you not use the concision concept that we have learned just in the previous line? Let's take an example. Look at the two statements over here. Again, pause the video for a second. Try to find the correct answer and we will then solve it together. Are you done solving this question? Were you able to find the correct answer? Let's find it out together. What if I tell you, in this case, statement 2 is the correct answer? You are surprised, right? Because it is a wordy statement and statement 1 uses far less words than statement 2. However, there are laws that bypass the concision laws. This is what I was talking about. The chapter concision is very subjective. There are rules that often bypass the rules that you have learned under the concision chapter. In this case, the difference between statement 1 and statement 2 is that statement 1 uses the phrase England cricket team captain and statement 2 uses the phrase captain of the cricket team of England. Now, the rule is never to let go prepositional phrases. Always remember, you don't need to omit a prepositional phrase just to make a sentence concise. Through this example, we have understood that there are rules that can change the Concision laws. You don't need to apply Concision laws every time. Worry not, there are not many rules that actually break the Concision laws. There are 3 more rules that you will need to understand and conceptualize for a GMAT test. To understand the next rule, let's take another sample question. Try to solve this question again. Try to analyze both the statements and get back with the correct answer. Pause the video. I will be waiting for you over here. This one seems pretty easy, right? Statement 1 is a concise statement which states the image that I see is a monster. And statement 2 is a bit wordy, which states the image that I see is that of a monster. Now I know most of you got the correct answer for this one. Statement 1 implies the image is a monster. However, statement 2 implies that the image is that of a monster. You see the difference? You use 2 extra words, that of, and the meaning changes completely. So in this case, the rule is always keep those of and that of if needed. Statement 1 in this case fails to use the words that are needed. Hence, statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is the correct one. Fine, I know most of you got this one right. Let's try one more thing for rule number 4. One more question, try to analyze it and try to find the correct answer for this. Again, pause the video, analyze it, and I will be waiting for you for the correct answer. Were you able to find the correct answer? Did you analyze both the statements and found the difference between both the statements? Statement 1 states, it is implied photography is prohibited. Statement 2 on the other hand says, it is implied that photography is prohibited. You see, statement 2 uses a single word that, which statement 1 fails to do. Now, which one of them is correct? Does the that in the statement 2 make major differences? Absolutely. The rule is, whenever you are using a reporting verb like implied, you always need to use a that after it. Don't try to make the sentence more concise by omitting the word that. This is the 4th rule of the Concision chapter on the GMAT. Try to remember this rule, practice more questions on this, and in some time you will be able to ace this concept. Since we are done with the 4th rule, let's go to the final 5th rule on this chapter. Take your time, solve this question again, and try to come back with the correct answer. Remember, this is the final rule of this chapter, and you are going to complete the chapter after you have mastered all the 5 rules. Are you done solving this question? Were you able to find the differences between statement 1 and statement 2? I know this was pretty easy for you. However, let's do it together once more. If you look at the question very carefully, you will find that statement 1 is written in passive voice. However, statement 2 has been written in active voice. Does that make any difference? Yes. The GMAT always prefers active voice over passive voice. So in this case, statement 2 is the correct option for this question. However, be very careful. The GMAT may actually trick you into choosing the option with active voice, but putting a small grammatical error in the option. So every time, it's not that the option with active voice is the correct option. Look for grammatical errors first and then apply this rule. This brings us to the end of this chapter. We have understood 5 important rules about concision. To summarize all, The first rule that we learned is that concise sentences are preferred on the GMAT. The second rule that we learned is you always need to keep the prepositional phrase. The third rule that we learned is that you always need to keep the phrases those of and that of, and never ever omit those words for concision. The fourth rule that we learned was you always need to keep the word that after every reporting verb. And the fifth and the final rule that we learned is that in GMAT, active voice is preferred over passive voice.